My name's Gordon Ross, and I'm going to be using the X32 Rack to provide in-ear monitors for a band of 8 musicians, and to provide the main mix for a PA as well. We aren't a wealthy band, but we've got a little bit of money. We've done some gigs that have resulted in us getting a little bit of money. So there are 8 people in the band in total. We're called the Lotharios. We're a kind of a joke band. This is us here. So you can see that we're we're the humans, not the mannequins around us. But this is one of the gigs we played, not to mannequins, to other humans. But Ben is on a lead vocal. So Ben has one output, it's a microphone. So he has one output. Charlotte is on a lead vocal, she has one microphone, so that's one output. Sean is on drums, but he also sings. So by drums, we only put the kick drum mic through the PA. So the kick drum has a microphone in it, and that is fed into the PA. And the vocal also has a microphone in it, because sometimes he sings backing vocals or lead vocals sometimes. So he has 2 outputs, so that makes 4 outputs for the band. Darren plays keyboards, and he also sings some songs. So he has 2 outputs. We only use a mono output for his keyboard, so that's 1, and we use a microphone for his vocals, so that's 2. Ian sometimes sings and plays guitar. He always plays guitar. Well, he always tries to play guitar, and he always tries to sing. Well, he sometimes tries to sing. But Ian has 2 outputs. One is for the guitar, one is for his microphone, for his vocal. Paul only plays guitar, but he wants his guitar to be in stereo. So therefore he has 2 outputs, a left and a right output. Martin only has 1 output. Martin plays bass, so he has 1 bass output. And Gordon, that's me, I have 2, a left and a right keyboard output. So that makes a total of 13 inputs. 13 outputs from the band, 13 inputs to the mixing desk, to the X32 Rack. Now the X32 Rack also has an Omni mic plugged into its input to one of its channels, so that everyone can hear each other and the audience when they're performing, so they're not completely divorced from the gig. They just hear the dry signal that's coming in. So that's 14 possible inputs. The X32 Rack has 16 possible inputs, and the 16 inputs are just syndicated here on this video with They're all on XLRs, but the XLRs can accept microphone inputs, and they have separate switchable phantom power, but they can also accept line level inputs as well. The switchable phantom power is indicated by the LEDs, so on 16 I would just turn that one on just now, and you can see that has phantom power to 16, but the others don't have. It's the LEDs just to the left of the XLRs that indicate whether phantom power is turned on. I'll turn it off again, and it comes with 6 auxiliary outputs, so those can be fed to headphones. So there are 6 balanced auxiliary jacks, which are outputs from the mixing desk, and there are 6 matrix outputs on XLRs, so they're balanced as well. So there's 6 XLR outputs. I'm only referring to the 6 matrix outputs as outputs because outputs 7 and 8, which are matrix outputs, are always assigned to the main left and right outputs of the mixer. So they're always going to be feeding the PA. So that's what we mix the entire band to feed the PA sound like. Okay. Why am I using the X32 Rack? Well, I looked around at a lot of things, a lot of mixers, to try and work out what was going to be the most useful for this. There are 8 people in the Lotharios, so in this current incarnation of the Lotharios. When you look at the the photo, you'll see there's more. There's like 10, I think. But there are 8 people currently in the Lotharios. Each person needs 2 headphone feeds, one for the left ear and one for the right ear. So they have to have 2 independent headphone feeds. So the fact that the X32 Rack outputs 12 outputs for the headphones, that's only going to feed 6 people. If you want to have stereo for them, 6 people, so there'll be 1 left, 1 right. 6 times 2 is 12. So 8 times 2 makes 16 headphone feeds. So there's something wrong with the maths here. So the 2 lead vocalists, they need to be on wireless headphones to move around, because the lead vocalists, they generally move all over the place. So Charlie and Ben, they're going to be on wireless headphones so they can move around, and they're going to be on the same headphone feed. So Ben is going to be panned to the left slightly, Charlie's going to be panned to the right, but if they make any changes to their headphone feeds, it's going to be the same change that they make for each of them. Okay. The 2 keyboard players, so me and Darren, we're going to share our headphone feeds also. So 16 with 2 for the lead vocals, that takes 2 off of them, so 14, and 2 off of them for the shared headphone feeds for the keyboard players, that makes 12. So it's a total of 12 headphone feeds. What I've got here is a rough idea of the stage setup, which is only just using the X32 Rack's outputs, not the inputs. So you can see that outputs 1 and 2 are used to feed both Ben and Charlie, both lead vocalists who are on microphones. So that's what feeds their headphone feeds. 3 and 4, auxiliary 3 and 4, are used to feed the headphone in-ear monitors of Sean, the drummer. Auxiliary 5 and 6 are used to feed the headphone of the bass player, Martin. Matrix 1 and 2 is used to feed the headphones of Ian, the guitarist. And Matrix 3 and 4 is used to feed the headphones of the guitarist, Paul. Okay? And Matrix 5 and 6 is used to feed both keyboard headphone mixes. So there you can see that we're sharing headphone mixes. Matrix 7 and Matrix 8 will feed both the PA speakers. So that's just the PA is being fed from Matrix 7 and Matrix 8. Okay. Now we've got 12 headphone feeds. One feeds a wireless stereo headphone transmitter with 2 wireless receivers that have headphone outputs. We bought this Gear for Music Sub-Zero SZ IM2R. We bought that, but you can buy anything you want to based on your budget. Okay, we bought this because it wasn't the cheapest thing that Gear for Music sell, but it was the cheapest that has the functionality that we want to have. Okay, so it was pretty cheap, about 100 and some £200 or something like that. But we bought it with 3 receivers. There's only 2 singers, but in case one of them forgets to bring their receiver, there's always one in the case, and all we need is batteries to make that work. So in case one of the singers forgets the receiver, we bought 3. If both singers forget the receiver, then one of them will have to go back home and get it, or something will have to happen. But the other 10 feed 5 wired headphone amplifiers, and we bought these Behringer P2s because they were really cheap. We got them for under 20 quid each, I think. But they were the cheapest that we could find, and they take XLR or jack inputs, and they have 3.5mm headphone outputs, and they just amplify. So you've got a volume control on the top, and they just amplify the headphone signal. So we left the headphone choice up to the band members. everyone has different favourites. So everyone has particular headphones that they want to use. They think headphones sound brilliant. But the ones in the middle, the Shure's, are the ones that I use, the SE215s. But I think they're Bear Dynamics on the left. But anyway, everyone has different favourites, so we've just chosen the headphones to work in the band members' favour. So in total, that makes just over £1,000. Definitely the X32 Rack is the most expensive item. We were able to justify that by selling our current mixer, which is the PV XR1212, which is a powered mixer, but we don't ever use the powered outputs because we have powered speakers for the PA. So it seemed redundant to have spent a lot of money on a powered mixer to just use the outputs that are unpowered. So we just sold this, and we put that money towards buying the X32 Rack. It doesn't include cost of cables or connectors, so there's lots of cables and connectors that you need to connect your P2 headphone amplifiers to your XLR outputs or jack outputs, balanced jack outputs of the X32 Rack. But I think if you don't have at least £1,000 to spare, I don't see how this can be anything that you can think about doing. So you have to have £1,000 to even approach this, okay? The X32 Rack mixer, it uses some software called X32 Edit, which I think is also available on Windows. I'm using a Mac computer, but the X32 Edit just makes it really easy to use the X32 Rack. The MXQ iOS and Android softwares run on your phone, so they allow you to interact with the X32 Rack to set up your own headphones. Okay, so the X32 Edit software, which I've just included a picture of one page of it here, is much more intuitive to use than the front panel of the X32 Rack. That analogy of painting a hallway through a letterbox of the front door, it seems so difficult to use the front panel of the X32 Rack, whereas the X32 Edit software is fantastic, and it connects directly to the X Rack, and you only need a router which plugs into the X Rack. I'm not going to go into the router setup and everything like that. You can find a lot of that online. The MXQ software allows the musicians to alter the balance of what is sent to their headphones, so it allows them to essentially balance. If they use the mixer, they can balance everything, so they have all 16 of the mix buses. And if they assign them to MCAs, which stands for Mix Control Association, then they can just, on the MCA page, turn up the drum and bass or vocals or guitars or keys, whatever you've assigned them to. But I've assigned them to that. And we're just using the bus that's assigned to the keyboards at the moment. I'll get into that a lot later. The musicians' headphones still need to come out of the mixer, not from their phone. So although they're using their phone to control the MXQ software, to control the mix that they're getting from the mixer, they don't have their headphones coming out of their phone. They have their headphones still coming out of the mixer. This is just to remind you in terms of the setup. I've got outputs, auxiliary 1 and 2, feeding the headphones of the two vocalists, and so on. You can see everything from there. In the next presentation, I'll go on to explain how to set up the X32 Rack to generate headphone mixes for each musician or pair of musicians, and then subsequently I'll explain how each musician can control that mix that they're hearing. Okay, thanks very much.